Okay, so step 9, identify your life's purpose. And this is a beautiful little phrase by Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go and do it. Because the world needs people who have come alive. And that sort of depicts very much how I felt when I found what I view or what I deem to be my purpose in life. It was a very important part of my path. It was okay dealing with past transgressions and relieving myself of guilt, getting rid of any anger and removing the baggage, the psychological baggage from my life. But equally as important was to identify which direction I was going in. And for me, life purpose, like I say in the book, it doesn't have to be a major thing. Mother Teresa said, do small things with much love, and you know, that can be equally as important. But life's purpose, having a purpose, something that really fires you, something that you are enthusiastic over, something that inspires you and drives you, is so important in my view in recovery. And also we find that all the people who have taken this path, the backbone basically of their path to optimal living was purpose. It was having something that they really enjoy. And as I say, for me, it's been writing. Writing books, training therapists, and my spiritual path. They're all part of my purpose, if you like. But more than anything else, I'd like to read this extract from Patanjali. And Patanjali himself, there's not too much known about him. He was supposedly existed a few hundred years before Christ. And you know, he was a seer. He was inspirational, and he was a seer, but not too much is known about him. But this passage that he wrote really inspired me, and it really depicts how I felt when I identified, when I aligned with my life's purpose. And Patanjali wrote, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. And that's exactly how I felt. If I had to choose a passage, if I had to make the words up myself the way I feel, that's exactly what I would write. Because I've said before, my initial reaction when I abstain from drink, when I become dry but not sober, was I've wasted 12 years of my life. All my other friends and relatives are married, got houses and doing the normal things in life, and I've just wasted 12 years of my life. On further exploration and getting to know myself, becoming self-aware, actually they weren't the things I wanted in life. I didn't want the house and settle down and have 2.4 children. That wasn't my path. I wouldn't have been happy taking that path. My path was to be something else. And I've always been a creative sort of person. I was in bands when I was younger, and you know, I had a love for music. But when I come out of this dark denizen, this 12-year period, I got a thirst for information of a psychological and spiritual nature. I wanted to find out what made people so destructive. So I went on a path of exploration, if you like, into my own psyche first and foremost. And I realised it excited me so much that I used to spend most of my time reading, attending courses, mostly taking myself away to go into solitude, maybe in the Lake District or in the depths of Snowdonia National Park, to be with this wise witness I call within, to commune with this wise witness, to get in touch with that part of me that knows the right action to every conceivable problem, the inspirational side of me. And in silence I would commune. And I've got to say that every line of this, you know, my extraordinary project, if you like, became writing. Writing and furthering my knowledge both spiritually and psychologically, and imparting it to the world. And I think the archetype of the wolf helped me here, where the wolf in Native American terms is a pack animal, but it's also a pathfinder, and it likes to go out alone and discover new things, discover new information, and come back and share it with the pack. So the wolf is the archetypal teacher, if you like, and that's where I find my life purpose. And I found when I started to do that, that all my thoughts did break their bonds. What we mean by that is that we become highly conditioned. We have ceilings on what we believe ourselves to be able to achieve. And when all our thoughts break their bonds, then there is no ceiling on what we're able to achieve. You know, life presents infinite possibilities. And when we take away all our conditioning, we become pure potential. And like Patanjali said, all our thoughts break the bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you find yourself in a new, great and wonderful world. Undoubtedly, I was in the same physical world. But as life presents itself through the filters of our mind, I certainly did at that point find myself in a new and wonderful world. And every day I wake up, I still find myself in that world. And that's because I choose today to stay on this path, to use this philosophy on a daily basis. And last but not least, he says, dormant forces, faculties and talents become alive. Things that you never dreamed you could do become achievable. And you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. So we know that to get in touch, even if you don't want to call it life's purpose, if that's too much, but to find a purpose, something that you are thoroughly enthused by, something that really inspires you, something that drives you, is really important. And I do believe each and every one of us have that within. And the second part of step 9 was, step 8 spoke about basically forgive and be free. And it also spoke about making amends to people, because when sometimes we have fears of facing people that we've harmed in the past, or we've committed transgressions against in the past. And one way to alleviate that is to go to these people directly, as the AA program recommends, where it's possible and where it's healthy, go and make direct amends to these people. Okay, and that's great, and we do advocate that where it's appropriate and where the person is comfortable in doing that. Obviously there's situations with maybe ex-partners and whatever that have remarried that it may not be appropriate to go and make direct amends to. So what step 9 says, let's do it through karma yoga. And like we said before, karma is simply action in Sanskrit. It means taking action. Yoga is to unify with God. But let's take the God element away. And let's say that as thought in many, many spiritual pursuits, that God is manifest in every human being. The Holy Spirit, if you want to put it in that text. The Atman, or whatever. That God is manifest in every human being. So therefore what we're saying is that through our life purpose, karma yoga, we'll carry out action that will serve humanity. And what we're saying here, what an excellent way to make amends without directly confronting people that you've harmed in the past, But what a beautiful way to make amends to the world, if you like, through giving your unique purpose for the good of all that you come in contact with. So step 9 gives an alternative. Quite frankly, you might want to carry out both. You may want to make direct amends to some people, then you might want to impart your wisdom or your unique gift on the world, bestow your unique gift on the world to make amends. Whichever suits you, take that action, but please do put in the time to discover that purpose, and you'll never look back in life, that's a promise.